Welcome to the B.F. Anderson Technical Report for September the 20th. Small business optimism surges to highest level, topping previous record under Ronald Reagan. The Optimism Index is a survey, and I think this is a very important moment. This index, or this survey, hit a record high last Friday. So I decided to go back and look at the years around 1983 because it's the similarities are very obvious to me, and that you kind of wonder if this optimism, the small business optimism, could it act as a spark to really ignite the economy. Well, let's go back and look. Here's a graph going back to 1981. However, just use your imagination a little bit. If you go back to 1966, the market hit 1,000 for the first time in 1966. Then we had a bad recession in 74. Market got down around 500, 600 in 75. I came into the business with Merrill Lynch in 1976, and I can remember you couldn't give a stock away. I mean, it was just really, really a tough business because the market peaked in 66, bottomed in 74, and did not get back to 1,000 again until Ronald Reagan came in and was elected. Right here is where the Optimism Index hit a record high. Now, realize we had roughly 17 years of the market doing nothing. In other words, no confidence, no optimism of any kind. Then all of a sudden, everybody gets real optimistic. And then about a year later, if you notice here, the market kind of went through a little bit of a dip about a year later, but then it took off. Basically rallied for 17 years. Now, we did have some volatility in here that was pretty difficult, especially the crash of 87. Now, that had a lot to do with the fact that interest rates were starting to climb and the Fed was starting to raise interest rates. Now, we may be looking at a similar situation, but overall, the uptrend in the market lasted for 17 years. So remember, we had 17 years of sideways movement, and then we had a 17-year rally, and then it peaked here. We then had, if you realize, we now have gone through another 17-year consolidation between really around 1995 and say around 2013, 2014. Then we had another little mini bear market in here. But the correlations are also interesting because if you realize here, the market bottomed in 75 and then rallied for about I want to say about 8 years, and then everyone would say, it's over, it's the longest bull market in history and all that kind of stuff. Well, then after the optimism index gave the signal, we went up for 17 years. Now here we are now, and you can see, we broke out. Everyone is saying, this has been the longest bull market in history, this period here. But I do believe this little bear market in here was a reset, and we have now relaunched again. So the question is, we're getting the optimism of the small businesses, and does that mean that, that we've got 17 years of upside? Well, I hope so. Now, I want to bring everybody up to date on the put-call ratio. We're still in greed. The market is somewhat frothy, so just be aware of the fact that we're probably in a period here where we may have some consolidation and possibly a correction. Now, I wanted to go and show you a graph going back to 2007. Now, this is the 35-week moving average on the S&P 500 index. Now, the rule is that if you get 2 consecutive weeks below the 35-week moving average, that is a sell signal. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that I sleep better at night using a simple indicator for a bear market. Now, I'm not predicting a bear market. In fact, we don't look like a bear market at all right now. But you need to have a bear market plan so that you sleep at night. Because if you realize that after this signal was given back in 2007, the S&P 500 dropped 55%. So it peaked in October of 07 and then bottomed in March of 09. So you can see here we basically stayed below the 35-week moving average all the way into 09. We bottomed in March of 09, and then we gave a new buy signal around May, June of '09. Now, if we look at the NASDAQ, see, because the rule is the S&P 500 has to be below the line for 2 consecutive weeks, but also the NASDAQ as well. So you have to look for confirmation. So again, you need a bear market strategy, and this is a good one. Now, if we look at the indicator as it stands today, the trend lines are very strong. This is the 35-week moving average. We got the buy signal around March of 16, and we've been in an uptrend pretty much ever since. So this particular indicator looks perfectly fine right now, no problem at all. Now, I do want to call your attention to the fact that interest rates are starting to break out to the upside. Now, this is the 10-year Treasury yield, and we are now at the highest interest rate for the 10-year Treasury since earlier, since May. So anyway, interest rates are starting to climb up. Just be aware of that. The economy's picking up, which means interest rates are going to pick up. So bonds are going to be a tough place to make money. All right, top 5, just this watch list. Again, advanced micro devices, which is semiconductors, continues to look good, well above the moving averages in a strong uptrend. Here is a consumer discretionary stock called Lululemon, which is yoga wear and athletic wear. Company announced a fantastic quarter for earnings. You can notice the skyscraper volume here, and the stock is consolidating its gains, continues to look good. Here is a stock called Novocure. They're involved in biotechnology, medical equipment. Stock looks interesting, broke out to an all-time new high just yesterday. Now here's another stock that's revolutionizing the TV industry, a company called Roku, like a Netflix. Again, recent new high. This is a real interesting company, good technology, by the way. Then finally, Trade Desk, which is a company that is disrupting the advertising industry using algorithms and so forth. You can see it's doing well as well. So I'm going to conclude by saying that I think the optimism index is a very important thing, and it does show me that there really is no recession on the horizon, because if everybody felt we were going to have a recession, I don't think the optimism would be high. Let me know if you have any questions.